evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now. I am Heena Gambhir. At 8 p.m, I want to focus on the state of Karnataka's anti-corruption institution, Lokayukta, which till 2016 used to be a premier agency with its own police wings to investigate cases under Prevention of Corruption Act 1988. It came down heavily on corrupt public servants, but now it seems to be getting crushed. For over 3 months, the post of Lokayukta is vacant. Now, the Karnataka government has asked for a huge chunk of senior police officers from the Lokayukta to be withdrawn. BJP government has unilaterally asked the Director General and Inspector of Police to take back all the 22 superintendents of police and 42 deputy superintendents of police working with the Lokayukta immediately. Is the aim to make this institution a toothless tiger? Now, why are we raising this issue? Well, we all know ministers in Bommai government in Karnataka are facing major allegations of corruption. And amidst all of this, who is going to ensure a transparent probe? You know, in 1984, an institution called the Lokayukta was formed in the state of Karnataka. The singular role of this body was to check corruption. It even forced former Chief Minister B.S. Yediyurappa to resign. You heard me right. Those were the kind of powers it held. Former Lokayukta Justice Santosh Hegde's report directly implicated B.S. Yediyurappa and his family members in a mining scam. That's the kind of power Lokayukta had. It does not have that kind of power today. The high and mighty were afraid of implications of corruption. But now, that power is a thing of the past. First blow to the anti-corruption watchdog was in 2016, when Congress government curtailed its power to independently investigate cases and take action by forming a separate anti-corruption bureau. Since then, the Lokayukta does not have any jurisdiction to investigate and take action. People have now no place to take their grievances. They can only go to ACB, Anti-Corruption Bureau, which is merely a unit of the state police, a part of the government. It functions under the administrative control of the Department of Personnel and Administrative Reforms. Can it transparently check corruption? Is the question many are asking today, because the Karnataka government's ministers themselves are facing corruption allegations. And before I go across to my guest to get you more updates on this particular story, we are joined by my colleague Deepak Bopanna. Deepak, good evening. Firstly, can you tell us why suddenly this decision has been taken by the government of Karnataka to weaken Lokayukta?
Yes, so let me try and put these things in perspective. Firstly, we should understand that the Lokayukta as an institution itself now has been weakened after the formation of the Anti-Corruption Bureau, but of course still continues to do its duty here. But most importantly, we should understand that the post of the Lokayukta in itself fell vacant about 3 months ago, and it's been 3 months that the government hasn't really appointed anybody for that top post. Now, over and above that, in the latest development that we are bringing to the fore, through the document that we've accessed and also through the reactions that we've got, is that the government now plans to withdraw or have surrendered about several officers. In fact, 22 officers of the rank of the SP level, 42 officers of the rank of the DYSP level. Now, they have been asked to be surrendered from who are right now functioning in the Lokayukta. Now, the government, of course, can use these officers in any other department, but the question is what happens to the institution? One, you don't have a head who's at the helm of affairs to control what's happening, to look into corruption allegations directly, and to take on the biggies, which could include even ministers. Now, on the other, you don't have police officers who, of course, by themselves can look into top bureaucrats, other officials within the government, and also be the guiding force for the entire operations in the Lokayukta in itself and overall the functioning in various fields, be it in the administration or in any other wing of the Lokayukta. So definitely this move is questionable, especially with the BJP themselves having attacked the Congress in the past, alleging that they had clipped the wings of the Lokayukta by the formation of the Anti-Corruption Bureau.
Now, Deepak, for the benefit of our viewers, can you also tell us, given the current circumstances that we are seeing in Karnataka, where the Karnataka government, the ministers, some of them there are facing allegations of corruption, 40% commission charge, 30% commission charge that has come over the last few weeks, how important a body like Lokayukta becomes for the state of Karnataka?
Yes, now most importantly, we should understand that, as far as the Lokayukta is concerned, we've seen in the past how it has functioned. And we've seen, really big names like the former Chief Minister of Karnataka, B.S. Yedurappa, who came under the Lokayukta scanner. He, in fact, had to step down after, the probe by the Lokayukta and their findings. And that's the kind of impact this institution has. It's a body that, works completely independently. It doesn't have to really answer to any politician in the state of Karnataka, including the Chief Minister. And that is where it wields the power to bring down the elected representatives, most importantly, because there has been, of course, the charge that the elected representatives get away with corruption easily, especially at a time here in Karnataka where the BJP government is facing a lot of allegations. One from the Contractors Association, which has been claiming, of course, that a 40% commission is being sought for every tender that's awarded to them. On the other, we recently had a religious head who made an allegation that even to award grants to the mutts, a commission is charged by the government. Now, if the Lokayukta, of course, has all its powers, it can directly go ahead, delve into these allegations, pick up any elected representative for questioning and, investigate that. But now when you have the institution which is now headless, on the other with senior police officers really being withdrawn, it just shows you the state of affairs at this point in time.
All right. Thank you very much, Deepak, for the moment, for joining us with all of those details and putting things in perspective for our viewers. Let's now go across to my guest joining us on the broadcast this evening. We have Mohan Krishna, spokesperson of the BJP. We have with us Brajesh Kalappa, Congress spokesperson, joining us. T.R. Raghunandan, senior visiting fellow, CPR and former IAS officer. Anil Kumar Tadkal, who is a Lingayat leader, will also be joining us in just a bit. And Namit Saxena, advocate on record Supreme Court, also live with us on this debate this evening. Good evening to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on Mirror Now this evening. Mr. Mohan Krishna, I want to begin the discussion with you. What is the intention really of Karnataka government as far as Lokayukta in the state of Karnataka is concerned? Is the idea to now completely decimate this body that has in the past very successfully fought corruption?
Good evening, Heena. Good evening. Karnataka government is not intending to mend any amendments like how it has been done earlier. The appointment of Lokayukta is going to happen soon. That much I can say right now. Very soon. The process has begun, and as everybody in the panel knows that Mr. Brajesh Kalappa is a renowned lawyer also. He knows that how the process goes on. And Mr. Raghunandan is an ex-IAS officer. He also knows about it very well. Coming to the point, government of Karnataka is not trying to avoid or anything. The process has started. As I told you again and again, we are not intending to close Lokayukta.
Mr. Brajesh Kalappa, will you like to respond? Because as per the process, the government has to consult Lokayukta before taking the decision that Karnataka government has taken about removing senior police officers from Lokayukta. There is no Lokayukta. The post has been lying vacant for over 3 months. Mr. Mohan Krishna tells us that the process is underway. Soon Lokayukta will be appointed. But then Karnataka government was also in a hurry to remove police officials, and so many of them, 60 odd police officials, are going to be removed after this order.
See, Heena, I think insofar as the appointment of the Lokayukta is concerned, we already know when a Lokayukta is going to demit office. And when Justice Vishwanath Shetty was going to demit office was known to the government well in advance, because he's a senior judge. Everybody knows that the Lokayukta can't remain in office beyond 75 years of age. and therefore Justice Vishwanath Shetty's departure from office was a foregone conclusion at a particular point in time. Now, if the government was keen that there should be a Lokayukta, the first thing that they would have done is started the process well in advance. But obviously, it's been 3 months down the line, so clearly there has been absolutely no movement on that front. Because ultimately, if you have a 5-day lag, 10-day lag, 15-day lag, it's understandable. But here's a 3-month lag, and that's clear that the government is not very keen on appointing a replacement for Justice Vishwanath Shetty. Now, this is the first part. Now, second part is that so long as Justice Vishwanath Shetty was the Lokayukta, the government didn't dare withdraw the services of 42 deputy superintendents of police and 23 superintendents of police. How did they dare do so now? Because there is no incumbent in office. So clearly, when the cat is away, the mice will play. And as you know, the government of Karnataka has been battling extremely serious charges. We have also seen that, the Contractors Association has addressed a letter not just to the Chief Minister but to the Prime Minister of India. And the Prime Minister of India is renowned to have said, "Na khaunga, na khane dunga." But despite having made such promises, he has not responded to the Contractors Association president for over a year and a half. So Mr. Modi usually acquires great oratorial skills only during elections. So before elections, Mr. Modi is usually very quiet, and that is seen now. And including when a Hindu Vahini worker committed suicide, Mr. Modi was totally quiet. In fact, there is a news report that yet another contractor from Belgaum committed suicide just the other day. And at that time also the BJP is totally quiet and nobody is speaking. So
Mr. Mohan Krishna, yes, the charge...
Heena, I think,
yes.
I think you'll have to be the anchor. You'll have to be the anchor and not a certain gentleman from a political party.
That is exactly what I'm doing, and I'm asking Mr. Mohan Krishna to allow you to complete your point, and then I will come back to him. Go ahead, Mr. Brijesh Kalappa.
Yeah, so Heena, so these are the circumstances as they prevail in Karnataka. Now, having seen this, it's clear that the fact that there is such a huge time lag between the departure of the previous Lokayukta and the appointment of a fresh one, that the government is reluctant to appoint a Lokayukta and will not appoint a Lokayukta unless they are arm twisted into doing so. Right?
Okay.
So this is the first part. Second part is that even if there is going to be a Lokayukta, his hands and legs are going to be tied because he can't move, since he can't function without the police wing which works directly under him. How can a Lokayukta function if there are no officers from the police wing who are working directly under him? On what basis will he conduct investigation? Is he going to start investigations himself? He requires a body to kind of do what he has delegated. So therefore, this kind of a Lokayukta with absolutely no arms and legs to stand on is a complete sham. It's an exercise. It's an exercise in creating an illusion that there is a Lokayukta for the people of Karnataka, and there is nothing else beyond this.
Okay, so has it already become a toothless tiger is the question that we'll ask Mr. Mohan Krishna to address. Mr. Mohan Krishna, we've heard it many a times, and Mr. Brijesh Kalappa has also said it today, that when Prime Minister Modi says, "Na khaunga, na khane dunga," it seems the message is not being communicated to BJP leaders, BJP governments on the ground. Is that the reason why, when the process to appoint the Lokayukta was to begin, did not begin? And now more and more attempts are being made to weaken this very, very important anti-corruption body.
Let me answer to you. First, let me revert to what Mr. Brijesh Kalappa has said. Na khaunga, na khane dunga is our Honorable Modi's oratory skills. It is not oratory skills, Mr. Kalappa. It is his commitment to the nation. Let me make you understand. And we all people know that.
लेकिन आपकी government तो follow नहीं कर रही है ना कर्नाटका में. The anti-corruption body that you have, you are decimating it. Without the police officials there, how will the investigation also happen? There is no Lokayukta also. You have surpassed the process.
I am coming there. I have heard the long lecture of Mr. Brijesh Kalappa. Now I will answer to him one by one. He has said that Lokayukta has not been appointed from 3 months. The process has begun. He knows as a lawyer, let him not lie as he does in the courts. Okay. Now let him say to the people how much time it will take, and the process cannot be revealed to the public. Even the names, not like the minister's speculation and all these things. So the process has begun. The Chief Justice has been consulted. Chief Minister and Chief Justice are going to take this decision very soon, and they will be appointed. We are not going to hide if Lokayukta anything for that matter. If there is a corruption, we will ask our people to resign and face the charges, and we will come clean. That also we know very well. Coming to the point, always he raises the issue of Contractors Association. Contractors Association President Kempanna met the Honorable CM. I have told on many shows.
No, let's not try and deviate from the main issue here. No, Mr. Mohan Krishna, I'm not going to allow this. No, I asked you direct questions. You are here to respond to the questions that I am asking. I asked you pointed questions on what we are discussing today.
Answer to the panelist then?
No, but then the point is that I am asking you a question. Please respond to that, sir. I don't want to talk about what happened in the case of contractors. We've had 2 debates on it already.
Then why are you not allowing him to talk then?
No, I am asking you to respond to my question.
No, I will answer to your question. Ask the panelists also not to raise that question.
Please respond first to what I have asked you. Is there the intention at all to appoint Lokayukta?
Absolutely, we don't have any intention. The process has begun. Chief Justice has been consulted. Okay, as per the norms, we cannot reveal the names. Okay. Now, it will be soon, very soon. I cannot tell you, maybe in 10 days, maybe in 15 days or 20 days. Very soon it will be, the name will be out. We are not going to hide.
Okay,
let me answer.
So by that logic, Mr. T.R. Raghunandan, the decision that Karnataka government has taken today, that ideally should have followed after consultation with the Lokayukta is wrong, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's completely wrong. But I am not surprised at all. I think right from the time that the Lokayukta was constituted by Ramakrishna Hegde back in 1984, there have been tensions between the government and the Lokayukta, the institution of the Lokayukta, and it has happened through all political dispensations. In fact, I would say that in spite of that, the Lokayukta has done exemplary work in Karnataka. It has been a model not only for the country, but also internationally. If you look at internationally, what is done when a country wants to fight corruption sincerely, the first thing that it does is to appoint an empowered anti-corruption commission. And that was exactly what the Lokayukta was supposed to do. I think the previous Congress government hit the first nail into the coffin by creating the ACB. That was completely unwarranted because the ACB should not have been created in 2016. The ACB was merged into the Lokayukta in 1984. The ACB was abolished. There was absolutely no need to reconstitute and recreate an ACB. That was the first step in marginalization. Now the BJP government has hit the second nail into the coffin by withdrawing police officers and by not appointing the Lokayukta. There's absolutely no excuse why the Lokayukta should not have been appointed so that one Lokayukta hands over the reins to the next Lokayukta. But the third point I would like to make is while the Lokayukta itself has done tremendous work, I would cite the examples of Justice Venkatachala, who said plenty of things right as Lokayukta, and also Justice Santosh Hegde, who, as you said, brought down the downfall of one chief minister. But I think overall the Lokayukta, we must understand that the Lokayukta institution is much more than policing. The Lokayukta actually has 3 functions. The Lokayukta has the function of policing and catching people who are corrupt. Number 2, it has the job of listening to people's public grievances and setting them right. But the third and the most important function of the Lokayukta, in my opinion, is to control maladministration. If you look at the law constituting the Lokayukta, one of its essential functions is to do control of maladministration. Unfortunately, I don't think the Lokayukta has done well in maladministration at all. I keep making the point in various fora that if the Lokayukta wants to really sincerely attack corruption, it could every 2 months undertake a writing of a white paper, department by department, analyzing how corruption happens, and sending recommendations to the government to control corruption. For example, it can take up the revenue department for 2 months. It can take up the transport department for 2 months, various corruption-prone departments, and make recommendations. But unfortunately, none of the Lokayuktas in the past have done that. But having said that, I would underscore the point that the Lokayukta is a much, much more well-rounded anti-corruption institution as compared to the ACB. Substituting the Lokayukta
But does
for a
it have the
police
powers to do all of this? That's what I'm trying to
Yes,
understand, Mr. T.R.
It has.
Raghunandan. Does it
It
still have the powers to do it? Because the post of Lokayukta has been vacant for over 3 months now. What can it really do?
Yeah, if you look at the law, it has the powers to undertake to control maladministration. It has the power to rectify public grievances, and it also has the power to do policing and to catch people who are corrupt. But the whole point is that all this is not a one-man show. I mean, it has to have an institutional mechanism. It has to have organizational capacity. And so what the government has now done is to create an institution, hollow it out from within, remove all the staff, keep the institution, keep the powers and responsibilities in the law right, but do not enable the institution to function.
Okay.
This is diabolical, absolutely diabolical. And I do not, I do not buy the arguments that the government is appointing a Lokayukta. Even if the government were to appoint a Lokayukta now, the fact that it has taken the action of removing police officers is absolutely indefensible.
That ideally should have been done in consultation with the
insensible.
Lokayukta, and that clearly tells us what the intention of the government is, even though Mr.
I
Mohan
was just
Krishna
coming for 30
wants us to
seconds.
believe that the government is working very hard, the process is underway. Very soon Lokayukta is going to be appointed. I know Mr. Mohan Krishna wants to respond. I'll go across to him in
Just
just
30
a bit.
seconds.
1 second,
Just
Mr. Mohan
30
Krishna.
seconds.
Mr. Mohan Krishna, 1 second. I want to take the opening comments from my other two guests as well, who've been patiently waiting for quite some time. Namit Saxena, the question is, can any political party, when it comes to Lokayukta, which has been in power in Karnataka since 2016, be claimed to be holier than thou? As Mr. T.R. Raghunandan explained to our viewers, it all started by Congress government in 2016, something that BJP government in 2022 is just taking it forward.
And I'll just take 30 seconds to show what is the process of appointment, because that is very important. Nobody has discussed it yet. The process of appointment is this. The Chief Minister of the state has to consult the Chief Justice of the High Court, the Chairman of the Legislative Council, the Speaker of the Legislative Assembly, the Leader of Opposition of the Legislative Council, the Leader of Opposition of the Legislative Assembly. These 5 people. Now, the Supreme Court has put a rider to say that this consultation should be meaningful, is one. Second, the age bracket available to the government, to the Chief Minister, is from, because a Supreme Court judge retires at the age of 65 to 75. So they have to find a suitable candidate from the age bracket of 65 to 75 is one. Then they have to do a meaningful consultation with all these 4 consultees. It is then when the recommendation is to be made to the governor, and the governor then records its satisfaction to appoint the Lokayukta. So this is not 2 minutes Maggi noodles which is to be done and which can be done in a slipshod manner. This is very, very important to be understood. You're appointing a very important functionary, that is a Lokayukta. It can't be done in a very slipshod manner, in a hushed manner. This is very important to be noted. Second, Heena, what is important to be noted is that, as Mr. Mohan Krishna also pointed out, the government is already taking steps to do it. The Chief Minister has already is already in consultation with the Chief Justice of the High Court. All these 4 other consultees are also to be consulted. So there is a process which is laid down in the Act as well as in the direction of the Honorable Supreme Court in the 2013 judgment. So this is not that the government comes and this is not something which is whimsical to the Chief Minister alone. There's a proper procedure laid down. Also, as rightly Mr. Mohan Krishna pointed out, that the names cannot be put out in the open, because then there will be speculations. For example, some Justice XYZ is named, or a panel of 5 judges is named. Tomorrow there will be some 10,000 complaints against these judges so that they are not appointed. That is where these all precautions are given in the Act itself and in the various judgments of the Supreme Court rather. So there is no question of anybody being holier than thou. There is a process which is given. That process is being followed.
I
and that
agree with
process
you, Mr.
takes time.
Namit Saxena, that it's not like making Maggi noodles, which does not really take more than 2 minutes. Of course, it's a long process that needs to be followed. But as Mr. Brijesh Kalappa was also mentioning earlier, that the government also knew when this post will be falling vacant. Why was there no preparation? That's point number one. Second, I know Mr. Mohan Krishna again wants to respond, but second point that I want you to respond and I want you to address is the decision that government of Karnataka, the decision that it has taken today. Ideally, it should have been taken after consulting the Lokayukta. So I'm just trying to understand what is the intention of the government. Is the intention to not further decimate this particular body?
No, I don't think so. See, there is no timeline.
So without the police officers, who is going to conduct the investigation? How will the Lokayukta function?
I get that.
If the process is underway, why can't the government wait for the new Lokayukta to come in and then take these kind of decisions if the police, if the government requires, this police force in some other function? That's my simple question, because I'm trying to decode the actions here. What is the intention?
See, there are two answers to this. One, there is no timeline mentioned in the 1984 Act or the 1985 rules or any of the Supreme Court's judgment as to whether in this particular period, for example, if a particular Lokayukta demits the office today, there is no timeline that within 6 months or 7 months or within 15 days a particular appointee has to be appointed, is one. So in absence of this, the government is free to choose and decide a suitable candidate. Because you remember, we see that consent of a retired Supreme Court judge or retired High Court Chief Justice has to also be taken. So this is not, a process which can be completed within a particular timeline. That is why the legislative framemakers, they were conscious of the fact that please don't give a timeline to this. Because a suitable candidate has to be appointed. They have to be free to take their own time to appoint somebody. This is one. Second, now coming to your withdrawal of DYSPs and ACPs or police officers from SPs from the Lokayukta's office. See, the Lokayukta is not there. Now, these candidates who are trained to do a particular job, they can be used somewhere else. What is wrong in the state government withdrawing them for the time being and using them somewhere else?
But Anil Kumar, then the question is, what about the corruption charges?
There's no embargo on it.
What about the corruption charges, the 40% corruption charge, the 30% commission charge that the government of Karnataka is facing today? Where should the people of Karnataka really go? How can they really expect an independent, transparent probe? Will the government be probing its own officials? Can we trust the government?
See, I've been listening to everyone very. Hello,
Mr. Saxena, let Anil Kumar now respond, please.
Mr. Saxena, just a minute. I've been quietly, listening to everyone. My sincere request to the government is, we've been seeing a lot of corruptions, hard cash being found from the pipes of their, plumbing pipes. Literally, we could see, every media in this local medias have been highlighting this particular issue from very, very long time. It is not only from the politicians, it is from the bureaucracies, it is from the, lower level officers. We can see a lot of corruptions across the state. We've been seeing, and it is not, it is Anil or it is, Gopal Krishna or someone else is basically saying this. This is basically the corruption issue which has been seen from on a day-to-day activities across the state. My friend Mr. Saxena was telling me the process about how appointment happens. I do understand, as rightly said Mr. Brijesh Kalappa, like I know that this particular product is getting expired, it is my responsibility as a owner. I have to bring the new product into the line. So when the government knows that there is a next person getting retired, so it is the government's job. I do understand the whole process of it. It does when there is an amendment happens. If there is no timeline mentioned into that amendment, it is also telling that you can appoint within these time. It does not mean that like there is no timeline. I take years to appoint. because as Mr. Raghunandan was also mentioning, there have been very high regards that we had against this particular agency. Now this particular agency does not have any authority who can actually do a transparent understanding of the whole process.
Right.
If you currently look at the whole corruption matters, if you look at the BBMP, if you look at so many other departments which many people have been mentioning, so nobody has any fear about any department. Literally, I'm telling you, there is no fear about any officers. It was the only Lokayukta which people really had any fear. So currently, when this particular department is not actually being cornered, so the people are, you can see as per 40% commissions yesterday, day before yesterday, we could even see there is a corruption allegation against the Karnataka government on tourism. I'm not telling that this particular government or ex other government was doing. Our only request to the government is kindly bring transparency in the system.
Right.
When there is no transparency, you can see left, right, center, like you can see the corruptions across the state.
Okay. Mr. Brijesh Kalappa, before I go across to Mr. Mohan Krishna, I want you to respond to a very important point that was raised in the debate also, that, in 2016, when the Congress party was in power in the state of Karnataka, it set up Anti-Corruption Bureau, transferred the investigative powers of the Lokayukta to the ACB amid allegations of stripping the ombudsman of its power. So isn't it that, this entire process of weakening this very powerful body began by the Congress party itself? And BJP government is following it because everybody, would want to be in a situation that there is no transparent or an independent body should be out there probing the allegations of corruption.
See, Heena, I respectfully do accept what Mr. Raghunandan has said, but I think it was the idea of the then Congress government, and I happened to be the legal advisor to the government at that time. And at that time, I think it was the idea of government that there should be a two-pronged strategy to deal with corruption. One at the level of the Lokayukta and another at the level of the ACB. You see, the Lokayukta has been largely left untouched insofar as these changes are concerned. And the ACB was created. I must give you a new statistic which I think will cause you a lot of confidence that the ACB was well-intentioned and the idea behind the ACB was well-intentioned. And that is that the conviction rate in the ACB went up substantially because ACB as an institution also had to mature. After 2 or 3 years, ACB as an institution also has matured. I am very happy to report that the latest conviction rate of the ACB has gone up from 4 to 19. So therefore, convictions have increased where the ACB has come into existence. And where as compared to the Lokayukta, the ACB is acting in a far better fashion, and both of them have been able to kind of put some kind of a pincer and really hold corruption behind. And so this is the live experience, and which I think everybody should accept. The point is that there must be
ACB merely a unit of state police, as I mentioned earlier, an arm of the government? Do you think it was a wrong decision by the Congress party when it was in power in Karnataka in 2016, setting up of ACB and transferring the very important powers of Lokayukta to ACB was an incorrect decision of the Congress party?
No, I'm justifying that decision, Heena. I am saying that the Lokayukta's powers largely remained untouched. But the fact that an ACB was created has increased the number of convictions. So therefore, you have the Lokayukta looking at it, because Lokayukta at a large level is really an ombudsman. And his institution is looking, because the police wing is doing what they are doing, and there is a legal wing we have beneath him. But also, there is a separate ACB, which is also trying cases of corruption. Therefore, I think the forces working against corruption have become far stronger. That's my argument.
then still we are seeing cases of corruption tumbling out. Mr. Mohan Krishna, please respond.
Yeah, I would like to tell one thing, Heena. All of you have got a habit of saying 40%, 30% for Karnataka. I don't know from where you have arrived or where the Congress has derived this number. Let them give the justification first. Let me answer to 2-3 questions which I would like to answer to today. With regard to the corruption charges which are making, which Anil has made and others also have made, I would like to say there is Deputy Lokayukta, Mr. Panindra is there. He is a very well-known justice. He is taking care of the Lokayukta. It is not orphaned today. It is not orphaned. I don't know why this sudden issue of Lokayukta has been orphaned has come to the light.
You are taking away the
Mr.
powers of
Lokayukta.
You are taking away the senior police officers from Lokayukta, and you are saying that it is the way it used to be.
That is on the recommendations of the Deputy Lokayukta. It has been done.
If Lokayukta, Mr. Mohan Krishna, if Lokayukta today was as strong as it used to be prior to 2016, don't you think it would have given a lot of confidence to the people of Karnataka that there would be a thorough probe into the allegations that your government, that your ministers are facing today?
Let me come to that point. There was an allegation on Siddaramaiah government and then on Siddaramaiah on denotification issue, and it went to the court. And because by then only this Lokayukta was weakened by the Congress, then only. They have taken most of the powers, as Mr. Raghunandan has said. Today, Lokayukta is mere a functionary to take care of the officers and other things.
So what Congress party started in 2016, you are continuing the same trend. What is the different thing you have done? What have you done to strengthen Lokayukta, Mr. Mohan Krishna? I asked this question to the Congress spokesperson as well on the show. I want to ask you, your government is in power today. What is it that your government is doing to strengthen, to empower Lokayukta?
Let me tell you, you have given time for them to explain what they have to say. Please give me time to explain my point of view also.
Go ahead, sir.
Look, what I'm trying to tell you is, Mr. British Kalapa was a legal advisor. You are asking a legal advisor. He will say that, yes, I have done a best thing by weakening the Lokayukta, by making a ACB. He was saying that 4%.
तो मोहन कृष्णा जी, सवाल तो फिर वही आता है, आप कौन सी अलग चीज कर रहे हैं लोकायुक्ता के साथ में? आप भी तो उसे वीकन ही कर रहे हैं ना?
1 minute.
What is your government doing? They started it. You are continuing the process.
Let me tell you, from ACB 4 to 19% because they have transferred all the powers to ACB. What ACB is doing, ACB is giving clean check to Siddaramaiah and Hublo Watch. That is what they wanted. They have done it. See, let's not get deeper into this. We are in the process of appointing Lokayukta. We know we have to take care of that. You are asking the another question, how we will empower Lokayukta. That will be consulted. Chief Minister will consult the Chief Justice. If the amendment has to be repealed, we will repeal it. And if there is one saying in Kannada, Vaidya helidu halu anna, rogi baisidu halu anna. That is what has happened. That is what has happened. I am telling you honestly today. That is what has happened. We were 44. BJP was 44. The strength was 44 in 2016. And they have done all this. When we are in power, we would have had there was no opposition only. This was the unanimous, unilateral decision taken by the Congress government then. There was no voice for us to do anything. There are many things has happened then.
But Mr. T.R. Raghunandan, when BJP government came to power in Karnataka, we are not seeing any action by the BJP government to undo what the Congress party, when it was in power in 2016, did with Lokayukta. It is decimating it further. Isn't it, Mr. T.R. Raghunandan? And also on ACB, I was just looking at some data, Mr. T.R. Raghunandan. You know, since 2016, ACB has filed more than 2,000 cases, but accused were convicted only in 19 cases. That's the rate we are talking about.
See, the point is this, that let us not look at the two political parties. As I said, I explained that both of them have weakened the institution. I, of course, note Mr. Brijesh Kalapa's numbers and I respect that. That's fair enough. But from an institutional perspective, it is always a bad idea to put anti-corruption under a government. See, today the ACB looks at anti-corruption, but it answers to the Home Minister. Tomorrow, let us say that if there's a serious allegation of corruption against the Home Minister, will the Home Minister order an investigation into himself? No, he will not. Therefore, that is why institutionally, in countries that have attacked corruption successfully, the institution of an anti-corruption commission is separate. Autonomy is most important. And that is why a detailed process of selection of the Lokayukta is prescribed in our law. And here I must respectfully disagree with Mr. Saxena. This process should have been completed. This process should have been completed prior to the demitting of the office of the previous Lokayukta. You cannot say that because there is no time limit, this process of selection can continue indefinitely. And it is also very wrong to say that when the process is continuing indefinitely, because police officers are sitting idle, we can take them away and put them into some other place. That is hardly the way that you would treat an institution that is supposed to be the cornerstone of your effort to fight corruption. The simple fact of the matter is, politicians want to talk about autonomy for anti-corruption institutions, but in practice, they do not desire that autonomy. So you create a law that gives autonomy, and then you use various excuses to prevent that autonomy from actually functioning. And that is exactly, this is a typical case study of situations where governments speak the language of anti-corruption, but in their heart of hearts, they do not want an empowered anti-corruption institution. You are seeing this as a typical case study.
To win votes, maybe this is something that political parties use ahead of elections, but when it comes to actually implementing these particular plans, we see exactly the opposite happening. Mr. Saxena, Mr. Namit Saxena, will you like to respond?
Yes. See, as I detailed the procedure is there that has to be followed, and due process of law is to be followed in any case, is one. Second, as Mr. Mohan Krishna also pointed out, these figures of 40%.
No, how will you like to respond to what Mr. T.R. Raghunandan said on the issue of timeline?
See, I'll reiterate myself. See, in absence of a timeline, if the legislature wanted a timeline to be there, that within this period you have to frame and you have to appoint a person, that ought to have been followed. If there is no timeline, the intent of the legislature is this, that the CM and the consultees are to be left free. They cannot be put under a pressure of a particular timeline.
Meanwhile, you can take away the powers of the institution. If the process of appointing a Lokayukta is taking time, the government is well within its right to take away the powers of Lokayukta, the institution, the anti-corruption institution that we have in the state of Karnataka.
There is no taking away powers of the Lokayukta. Lokayukta is under a statutory framework. Till you amend the statutory framework, there is no question of taking away the powers. I'll tell you one. Second, the question of ACB being taken away under the powers of the Lokayukta. I'll tell you, in many states, Karnataka is not the sole state where ACB is separate from Lokayukta. Even in the state of Rajasthan, as a matter of fact, I know, ACB is separate. You cannot distrust a particular investigating agency just because it comes under the purview of the state police. The state police cannot be distrusted at large like this. The state police is also an investigating agency which is under the state control, but that is an independent, because the prosecution is conducted independently.
As a citizen of this country, Mr. Saxena, as a citizen of this country, I want you to respond to the question that I'm going to ask you now. Can you really expect the state police to transparently probe the state government if there are allegations of corruption?
Exactly.
See, why not? Why not? I fail to understand where is this new phenomenon of distrusting the state police is coming from. They can be certain
80% of 310 corruption cases are against government officials. Government clearance is awaited in 72% of corruption cases. No charge sheet has been filed in 72% of the corruption cases. And this is the data of Karnataka that I'm talking about. Anil Kumar, how will you like to respond?
That is not because that is
Heena, I would like to mention one point which wanted to make it very, very clear. Mr. Saxena was mentioning a lot about the about the rules and the regulations followed by the government to form the new Lokayukta chief. My simple question, can it be amended? Can it be amended by the present government and get the timeline for it? If they are so conscious about the corruption, and as per the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's statement, na khaunga na khane dunga, if they're very clear about it, the amendment involves the opposition party as well as the ruling party and like the governor. So I personally feel like if they really wanted to bring in this particular changes, I think for the next assembly session they should be able to do it. And like, as you rightly mentioned, from the corruption is starting from the grassroots level. If Heena, I would like to bring it to your notice, maybe you might have faced this issue. As soon as you take out your vehicle in the morning from your, home to the office, you can find hundreds of traffic police standing across, and the traffic fine is so high, like, a common man would not be able to bear that cost, and he start driving him the small amount. Like that is where the corruption actually starts. So how would you be able to prevent? As you rightly mentioned, out of XYZ cases, 75, 78, 80% of the cases are actually coming from the grassroots level, the government officers. How would you be able to? I would completely, make my statement difference from the all other panelists. I don't even mind having both the departments, both the investing agencies be in the line.
Okay.
I would also tell, like, at least if they can bring if they can segregate the corruption rates and the corruption levels or the corruption types to different departments, I would see that the people of this state would be very happy to control the corruption.
Right. Mr. Mohan Krishna wants to come in. Yes, Mr. Mohan Krishna, go ahead.
It is not such easy to amend things, You have to take permission. See, now again,
Mr. Mohan Krishna, on a lighter note, they say where there is will, there is way.
Why you are disturbing me? Let me answer. Let me answer, please. Let me answer.
I'm saying on a lighter note,
there has to be
they say where there is will, there is way. Show us the will.
Please, let me answer. When after appointing Lokayukta, this can be amended. If everybody agrees, as opposition leader also has to agree, and legislative chairman has to agree, assembly chairman has to agree, and governor has to agree. And more than that, we don't have legal advisors like, Mr. Brajesh Kalappa. We are very happy. If amendment has to be done, we go with the voices of the people. It is not anarchy. It is not anarchy. Again, coming to point, why you are stressing on Modiji's na khaunga na khane dunga?
That is the charge of the Congress party.
Let me answer, please. Let me answer to Mr. Anil Kumar. If there is a corruption, if the cases are there, Deputy Lokayukta is there, Upa Lokayukta, what we call in Kannada, he is there. He is also a great gentleman and great justice. He has served the country, and you can go to him. Let me answer to one more thing. 13,770 cases are pending with Lokayukta. And there are cases about 10 years, decade back cases are also pending in Lokayukta. Why suddenly, when you wanted Lokayukta to give a ruling on the Lokayukta report basis, Honorable CM, ex-CM Yediyurappa was arrested.
Right.
Why there was an amendment? Let the Congress answer to the people of the India and people of Karnataka. Mr. Brajesh Kalappa, being a legal advisor to the government, that should answer in this panel also. Why they have amended it? Let them answer.
I think he's responded to that point. But since you mentioned that, again and again, Mr. Mohan Krishna, that, the Lokayukta will be appointed soon. Can you give us a timeline that you're looking at? Can you tell us how soon can we expect Lokayukta will be appointed in the state of Karnataka?
For your information, very soon. I cannot see. I am not a Chief Minister of Karnataka. I would rather, the Chief Justice of High Court. But the consultation process has already begun. Very soon, I have got the word from the people from where I have to get. Very soon, you will have the Lokayukta. And Karnataka, under the BJP, will not go like hiding things,
Okay.
If we have to face, we will face.
Mr. T.R. Raghunandan, I want to give you the last word.
Yeah, I want to respond to what Mr. Anil said, and I think this is a very important point. He was talking about educating people and talking to people about the kinds of corruption that happens so that people can themselves better handle the forms of corruption that they are facing every day. In fact, that is a very important cornerstone of the Lokayukta's task. If you look at the Lokayukta Act, it says that the Lokayukta must also work on maladministration. And I made the point that throughout, from 1984 till today, I believe that Lokayuktas have not paid attention to this very important task. And this is again something that is born out from international practice. All good, successful anti-corruption commissions work a lot on citizen outreach. And therefore, our Lokayukta should have done it. I don't think anybody did it, except probably to some extent Santosh Hegde, Justice Santosh Hegde, who appeared on TV channels and who began to speak about it and who raised awareness of people. So I would end by saying the ACB cannot be a substitute for the Lokayukta. And I would also say that whatever the law might say, Mr. Saxena is right when it says that the law does not provide a timeline. But from the point of view of good governance, there must be continuity in the institution, and this process of selection should have been started and completed before the previous Lokayukta demitted office.
Pertinent points you've raised, Mr. Atiyar Raghunandan. I appreciate all of you gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us here on Urban Debate on this very, very important issue from the state of Karnataka this evening. Thank you for joining us, all of you. Heading